Hey, everybody. Welcome to What's the Story? My name is Janice Hermson. I am your host, and we are thrilled to be here today. And it is the first week of 2025. How about that, guys?
Oh my goodness. Isn't that
In my
something?
in my wildest dreams, I couldn't imagine.
Huh. Yeah, somehow you're quieter than you were before.
Yeah.
Did you
You've
change your
heard me
microphone?
you heard me say that before. I have to put it in perspective. In perspective, I'm still worried about Y2K.
That's pretty funny. Oh, my goodness. So here we are, and I want to mention to everybody that hopefully you have subscribed to our Substack, and that is hermson.substack.com. Let me just pull that up here so you can see what you're looking at. Hang on one second, I got to find the right thing. Here we go. Are you ready for 2025? And then we're also going to take some time to look back at history a bit. And this is our picture for our word of the day. Can you guess what the word of the day is? And don't you say anything, Doug, 'cause you already know.
No, I don't.
Oh, you didn't read my little blurb that I sent to you with the word of the day? Oh my goodness gracious. Well, look at you. You're going to be in the dark.
I am. Well, I spend my life there. It's
That's pretty
comfortable.
funny.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
Well, you're going to like the word of the day and you'll understand it. And you'll probably even be able to come up with some synonyms for
Yeah.
us. You can always jump on your phone and find them
Yeah.
if we need to, right?
You
Yeah.
know, I would like to guess too with that
Oh,
photograph.
okay.
But the unfortunate thing is what I came up with were usually two words instead of just
Oh.
one. Maybe a hyphenated word.
You're reading too much of those synonyms or similar words. They're two words. They're not like they're taking you askew.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. All right. So, word of the day, we'll get to that in just a minute. I want to make sure everybody knows that if you'd like to, we're going to be offering some sponsorships and some 30-second spots that will be available to you. You can go to janicehermson.com and just go into the contact us little area and let me know that you're interested in doing that. We'll have Ed set up with something too pretty quick, but he's busy right now. As you can see, he's streaming in today from out of town in that undisclosed location, right?
Yeah, he's down in 10 floors down in a bunker.
I know I'm way better than down in the bunker. It's nice here. I'm probably 40 degrees warmer than you.
That's pretty funny. Oh, but we're glad to have you and glad that you could stream in.
This is wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
Oh
It's
boy,
great.
think of the
Sounds good.
times we're living in. Ed, what's your weather like there? Well, first
So
of all, say where you are, what state?
so I'm in India, Atlantic, Florida. It's about an hour due east of Orlando. And the weather here is dipping into the low 50s. They have the shelters open here and like warnings here, bring your pets in. And it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever
I think that's very funny. When you told me that, he told me that they've the weather has caused them to put out a warning and it's like 50 degrees.
It is.
Ah, that's crazy. They
It
never
is,
did that in
but
LA.
Well, explain why you're in Florida, not Ohio.
well, this is where my mom is. My mom was here and took ill, and she's had some challenges. She was in the ICU for 9 days.
Ooh, boy.
She's now in a regular room and been there 2 days. I think tomorrow's her third day. I'm like the only person that's happy in the whole hospital because my mom keeps stepping the right way. Um, she'll be out in a couple of days. She's doing good. She was beat down hard, but she was fit, good shape. She was,
Well,
she's always been a good nutrition person and a good health person. And she's able to bounce back, but like 20-year-olds that get a cold and have it for a day or two, and I have it for a week or 10 days. My mom's a little a little older than that. It's taken her, it's going to take her up to a month to kick this thing.
It's just kind of flu type symptoms.
Pardon me?
Flu type symptoms? Is that what's?
No, she had an internal infection that just knocked her out.
He doesn't know about HIPAA.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, how's she being treated there by the hospital staff?
So she's in a Holmes hospital in Melbourne. It's the nicest hospital I've ever been in or seen in my entire life. It is
That's
total
awesome.
cake eater.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Her hospital room's considerably larger than my bedroom. It's ridiculous how nice
That's pretty
this
funny.
place is, and the care she's getting. The ICU people were just wonderful. Anyway, it's been, however, her challenge, the healing part, the folks are great.
Well, that's awesome. And it's awesome that you were able to be with her and help her out through this time. You need to have a family member around when you're going through something like this.
Yeah, I think so.
You really do. Yeah. It's just critical to getting better, to keeping the people that are around her
Janice,
in tow, I guess I would say.
I really think you're right on with that. I don't think that they could ever qualify it, but I think mental attitude is such a large part of getting
huge.
better.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. If people aren't feisty, they don't stand a chance, right? Yesterday, my mom was like, "Get me out of here."
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Did you hear him say how feisty she is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's where Ed gets it.
Maybe, and it might be kind of that word of the day too.
I'm going to have to warm up to the way we are here, because it was so much easier to pick on Ed when he was sitting to my right. Now I'm looking straight at him, and
Yeah, we did do a little bit of adjusting here in our studio as well. So Doug isn't used to looking at me head on. So he's like facing me. This is how we were at the studio, remember?
Oh.
We were across from each other.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we were.
Yeah. I thought this would be a comfort
Oh,
zone
look at
for
there.
you. Aw, how cute.
I also am caretaker of this beast. This is
Is
Ginger.
that-
Say hi, Ginger.
Hello, Ginger.
All right.
She looks like a ginger.
Is Ginger a ferocious attack dog?
So only to other small dogs.
So Rusty and Ginger might not hit it off very well,
No,
right?
I think Rusty's got a big dog spirit, not a little
That's
dog,
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
right? It's the little dog spirit that
You're right. Yeah, I get that. All right. So we are glad that your mom is doing well, and glad that you were able to join us despite the fact that you're not here in Nevada with us. But hopefully you'll be able to come back soon and join us right here on the set. In the meantime, if you'd like to sponsor a show, be sure to get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you. And in addition to that, I want to remind everybody that, we are a self-funded type of show, and we're always looking for sponsors and people to help us out best we can. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. If you just go to our website. Oh, hang on a sec. First, I'm going to take you to the book. You can do that right there. Just click on that. Oh, you know what? Did I share my screen?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thanks. I wasn't sure if I had.
I had a pause for about 2 seconds.
Gotcha. Yeah. So here's where you can request a book, and you can also click to buy books. So if you want to buy some books, that'll take you to our website. And that is here, and you can see, you can browse by category: books, printing, t-shirts, mugs. We don't have t-shirts yet, but we will. Mugs, and we're going to have some gifts as well, and a little bit of publicity and promotion. But I'm going to take you right here, and this is our first series, which is our Freedom Series. And we do have some of these available in the shop right now. and you can also get them online. So either way, take a look and enjoy yourself and read some of the quotes. They're kind of cool. We enjoyed them anyway. So take a look. And in the meantime, let's talk about getting feisty. What do you think? Are you feisty today there, Ed?
So I was, right? I mean, so my mom's about to get out and they're going through, right? They test the blood for disease, right? They do all the CYA things that hospitals do when people leave. And they're recommending rehab places and gave me a list. And, I looked over, right? It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Best I know, people kick people to rehab facilities when they don't want them. I
You
mean,
know,
that's what I'm
Ed,
getting.
Ed, there's so much of what you're doing right now I can relate to with my dad. When he left his house for the first time, he was going to a rest home, that was, full care rest home. And the first day I went over to see him, I walked in. I don't know how many people know about rest homes, but they're pretty much all cut from the same cloth. And so I went over there, I went in his room and nobody's there. I thought, oh, that's not good.
That's not good at all.
So anyway, I walked back out and they had everybody from their rooms. They're all sitting against the wall in wheelchairs.
Yep.
And there was my dad sitting in a wheelchair, and oh man, was he fit to be tied. He says, just like Ed says, get me out of here. So I grabbed him.
I called my kids and said, never do it. Drop me off in the woods somewhere. I'll just crawl under a tree.
You sound like Debbie now. So anyway, I rolled him back to his room, got him in bed, got him settled. And he looked at me and he says, they got me up today. He says, they got me up today. They took me in the shower. They got me all cold and wet, sat me out there, put me in a wheelchair, and then he paused for a second and he looked at me and he says, have you seen these people in here?
I'm going to tell you, man, I haven't seen him, but he ain't wrong.
He's wondering what the heck he's doing there.
Well,
that's exactly right.
You can't get out.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true.
Get out of jail.
In the fire department, the fire department is also in the rescue business. And unfortunately, this is going back to when I was still working. Most of the rest homes, their first call is 911 when somebody's having difficulty. So, we end up there. So in my history with the fire department, I have been in so many rest homes. And like I say, they're pretty much all the same. But I will say the one that he was in, they treated him very, very well.
Yeah, and you say that, and when you say that, I think what you're really expressing is that the process, the steps that everybody takes are pretty much the same. The care, I'm going to tell you from my experience in over 11 years of dealing with this, was not the same. And you really have to be diligent. And somebody like Ed being there for his mom is so important to watch out for where you're taking this person. Sometimes it's a necessity. In my husband's case, there were times I just couldn't take care of him at home. I absolutely could not. He couldn't get out of bed. He couldn't do anything. I had to have him there. But I will tell you, I was there every day. Every single day. And it's really, if you can't do it yourself, make sure you rotate people, get family members, get friends, get somebody to go and visit. Because they would say to me, you're here every day. And I said, yes, I am.
Yeah.
It's craziness. So Medicare rates these places.
Oh, yeah.
1 out of
what
5
a joke.
stars. So the places I got, there were 3 out of 13 that had 3 that were 3-star. Everything else was less.
Ooh.
And as we know, Medicare, they're going to look at the rosy side. Things are worse than they say.
Yes.
And I looked at the gal and I go, I'm at least a 3-star physical therapy rehab person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm probably a 5.
You know, I got to, you know, my dad was in a home like that for close to, I guess maybe about 3.5, 4 years. And towards the end of it, you know, because there was about 50, 60 miles separating from where I lived to where he was in this home. So I could only stop by maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I couldn't be there every day
Right.
because I certainly had work and
Right.
other
No,
things.
it's
Well,
very hard.
I went in there one day a lot. I usually got there in the morning, but one day I was light. It was in late afternoon, and I thought, well, I'll just run in and say hello to him, which I did and then all of a sudden he looked at me, and I said, well, what's up, Dad? And he says, well, you can go now if you want. I said, oh, okay, all right. And I looked up, and Tool Time was on the television. And that was his favorite program. Well,
That's pretty funny.
so I knew where I was in the hierarchy of things.
That's very funny. He was done with you. You can leave now. That's pretty funny.
He didn't want to miss his program.
I'm going to say that I kind of have I'm kind of having a Heartland overload, right? The Hallmark Channel is kind of ingrained in my head now.
Oh.
You're not feeling too feisty about things, though, right?
I used to like.
It's still ridiculous to me, right? It's someone's life, and
Yeah.
to me, those places are like dampening the spirit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've even changed my mind. I used to think that when my mom got older, I'd bring her out to Reno, and my brother and I are there, but she freezes to death there. She doesn't have any friends there. I mean, right? She can't live her life there.
Right. It's
And
true.
so whether it's here or in Ohio, when that day comes, that's likely where I'll be, because I want her to have a strong finish, right? I don't want to like limp off.
Well, but it depends, because my mom ended up coming to Reno, and we thought she might freeze as well. And as it turned out, she was cold often, but she made new friends, and she did end up being okay with making the move. However, her life changed where she was. So that was kind of a turning point, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe it is better. The rest of the family's all here, and there really wasn't one of us that could go to her. So, but I get your situation.
It amazed.
The case. She's 84, right? If
Right.
she's 95, all her friends are dead.
That's right. That's
Right?
true.
So
It's
the
true.
Same.
It amazed me how well my dad adapted to his environment. I'd go over there, and there was 2 beds in his room, and most of the time there wasn't somebody in the other bed, which was fine, but he could look down the hall. Well, I was sitting there one day talking with him, and here comes a guy, excuse me, in a wheelchair. And I don't know if you've seen people do this, where they push their people, shuffle their people, their feet along so they can move along. Well, that's what he did. And this guy didn't speak. He just made noises like, And my dad looks at me and he says, watch out for this guy. I said, okay. And so this guy comes in his wheelchair. He comes in, looks around, and then leaves. And my dad goes, oh, good. And I said, well, what's the deal with that? And he says, I don't know, but yesterday he came in here like that, and then he went over and he peed in my wastebasket.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So,
All right, then.
you know what? That's a whale of a synonym.
He's a pretty feisty guy.
Yeah.
Doug, feisty is our word of the day, as you might have guessed.
Feisty
Yes,
is?
feisty is the
Well,
word
how
of the
did
day.
you get feisty out of that photograph?
Well, think about that. Well, what's the definition of feisty? Let's look that up.
Okay.
All right. Ed, do you have something there?
I do.
I figured you might.
I have, let's see, here it is. Courageous, tough, independent and spirited. I
Well,
do have
that
a
does fit then,
question.
yeah.
I have a question with this, right? And that um, is feisty a good trait?
That it depends on how it's used, I think.
Well,
So
right. And when you
the
use feisty, you're referring to someone who might be smallish or
right,
older or
right,
weakened, right? Because it's
right.
an unusual response from someone who's maybe not whole. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
And
when
And
having or showing a lively aggressiveness or spunky.
yeah, but
Spunky is a good
I
synonym.
don't see that in that photo though. What
No.
I see, I see a woman, a powerful woman is what I see.
Oh.
But then I see in the background a sunset. So I said, you put those together, you have a powerful woman that's on her way out.
So you guys don't think that's feisty, huh?
No, I
no,
don't think
so
that's,
I'd like to see her face. She's looking really hot.
yeah.
But that's not feisty to you? To me, that was pretty feisty.
No, no, I wouldn't see feisty in that at all.
Okay.
I
Well,
see
that's
it.
fair. That's
Do
fair.
you see it, Ed?
Yeah, I do. It's, it looks like
Because she's
taekwondo or
smallish. Yeah, she's
some kind of
smallish and
yoga, right? Sunset.
Well, wait a minute. There's an assumption there that she's small.
she
I don't even see
appears to
that.
be
She could be
small
6
to
foot
me.
tall.
Well, no, I meant frame-wise.
Oh,
Frame
yeah.
wise.
Well,
Yeah,
that too.
not so much like,
Yeah.
she's
I
not a
mean,
big woman.
You're right. From here, it looks like she's got a 10-inch waist.
Yeah. We all yearn for that waist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never see
But
that again.
back to the, I think feisty is a good trait because where you are, smallish, older, or whatever, we don't have control of. Feisty is just a state of mind.
It is, and it's
Yeah, I
one that
think
can
that's
be
right.
used to your advantage.
And you know
Because,
what?
like your
If it's-
dad,
Exactly.
right? You're not going to mess with him,
No.
or even that guy that peed in his wastebasket.
Well, I was going
But
to say, you're not gonna
here's
Oh,
something to think about too. There are certain things that I would never say or never do to my dad. He's my dad.
Right.
I would never cross him. Boy, I'll tell you, my 2 sons didn't get that gene.
Funny.
You know what? And speaking of that, right? This experience for me, right? My kids are like, wow, they're calling, they're in touch. I think
Oh, that's nice.
it's been a great example for them, and the reverberation from that was unexpected.
Well,
by
that's
me.
good. Yeah, that's good. You got to know that who
Wait a
they
minute,
are
wait,
and
wait.
as adults, right? That's always
Well,
different.
and they see that when mom needs help, I'm there.
Right. Right.
You didn't expect them to be as close to you as they are? Is that what
No,
I
I
heard you
didn't
say?
expect them to react so complacently and, hey, what can I do? They're both willing to jump out of their lives and contribute. My daughter works for the Mouse, which is an hour away. She's been here.
That's nice.
Well,
Yeah, really pleased on the upside.
both of my boys have turned out to be very, very independent, which I like. I think that's a good trait.
Yeah.
They
No,
don't.
it is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on a second, because I'm trying to share. Hold on, because I'm trying to share, and as I'm sharing, I'm repeating us.
We're likely worth repeating.
Well, we did, whether we wanted to or not. We repeated. I just had to get out of Facebook because I was repeating us. Sorry, folks. That was my fault. I said, trying something different, and I'm not going to do it again. Trust me on this. Hey, let's talk a little bit about some current events. We didn't talk at all about what's going on out there. The Cybertruck exploding, the drones
Well,
being pushed as possible alien sources,
Janice,
or they might be from China.
before we get to that, I have something that lends real well to the word of the day.
Oh, how
So
about
if I
that, even
can-
though you
and-
didn't
and
know
this, This comes from Webster's dictionary, and it's the word of the year,
it? Oh, what's the word of the year?
polarization.
And how is that
Well, it says
relative to feisty?
yeah. But polarization with the how did they come up with the word of the year? I don't know. But then the definition of it is division into two sharply distinct opposites, especially a state in which the opinions, beliefs, interests, and groups of society no longer range along the continuum, along the same continuum. Okay. Then again, their word of the day, which I thought was kind of neat too, is beleaguered. And I thought, oh, how do they get these together? But then I wasn't satisfied with that, and I put in another, the same word search, word for the day, or word for the year, Oxford Dictionary. Word for the year, brain rot.
That's a weird word.
Well, the thing of it is, I thought, how two different dictionaries come up with two different.
Well, it doesn't look like they have any parameters for how they choose the word of the year.
Yeah.
You have to combine them. It's beleaguered polarization, and the synonym is
Brain
network
rot.
news.
But does it you take this and they're looking again for this is for 2024. Is this the way they viewed last year?
Well,
Polarization and
they're
brain
basing
rot?
all of this on the elections. Everything, because the whole world revolves around Trump. We all know that, right? I mean,
Well-
if you don't look at the news, or if you look at the news, all you see is Trump, 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 Trump.
Well, that's kind of emphasize
It's
that.
no wonder people that don't like him can't stand him anymore, because my goodness, get him off the air.
When my mom was in ICU, there was a nurse she had who looked in and said, "Yeah, the speaker won." And then she looked at me and goes, "How's she?" And I turned my finger down. I said, "She's a teacher, but I'm in a red state. I'm in a red state."
Well, just to kind of
That's pretty
emphasize what
funny.
Janice just said before the program, I asked Janice, I said, well, what's the time difference between us, here in Reno and where Ed is? So both of us looked it up. We put, time zone for, and then put it in there. And it came back and it says the time zone is, and then the next sentence was, Trump plans on doing away with daylight savings. And I thought, how on earth would they tie that in? Everything.
Everything gets tied to Trump.
You try to find a time zone, and somehow they whittle that around to be Trump, either
Yep.
for it or against it.
Yep.
Well, he controls time.
Yeah, he does.
Apparently, at this point, that is true. And so let's talk a little bit about the. I'm sure that you both saw the Tesla that, quote, blew up in front of the Trump Tower
Without
in Las
breaking
Vegas.
windows.
Yeah, in Las Vegas. And then I don't know if you saw the thing with, and I'm not going to remember his last name. Oh, Sean Ryan. He did an interview with a guy named Shoemate. And I have this on my Telegram if we need real details, but he talked about the fact that this guy Shoemate apparently got an email from the guy that blew himself up. And he was trying to get to Sean Ryan. If this doesn't sound like a contrived, and I'm sorry because people are going to probably bash me about this, but it sounds like a contrived story that either the FBI or the CIA or somebody put together to try and tie all this stuff together. They said he was trying to reach you, Sean, and he was heading out of town, and I mean, all of it just sounds so contrived.
Well,
Yes.
the
It really
current
does.
president couldn't be doing more to disrupt the will of the American people what people voted on and what Trump wanted. I mean, he's tainting a poor presidency, but it is ridiculous to me, the selling the wall, the things that he knows that people don't want that he's doing. It's beyond ridiculous.
Tell me how you went. Tell me how you went from Sean Ryan and Shoemate and blowing up at Las Vegas to Joe Biden. I need to understand how you got there.
I don't know how he did, but I like the way he did it.
He's trying to undermine and do things that are contrary to what the voters voted on.
That's true.
I just don't know how you made the leap. It's an interesting leap for me. So my take on this is that we've got all sorts of fires being presented. So you've got that. You've got New Orleans, where and did you read that there's a New Orleans parish DA that was found dead? One of the ones that was investigating what happened in New Orleans. So how about that?
So that city's a Flint, Michigan on the water, right? They've always been blue, and people keep voting for them, and you get did you see those barriers? They were plastic. This dog could break through them.
I know, but why did this guy die? Supposedly he committed suicide, by the way. I forgot to mention that.
The guy in the Tesla?
No, well, yeah, he was supposed to have committed suicide. Yeah. No, this DA that was investigating the New Orleans situation was supposedly committed suicide. How are all these people committing suicide? I've just never known so many people in important places like that committing suicide. I mean, I can see them dying. I can see them being killed, but all of them committing suicide?
No, those folks have too big of egos to off themselves.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
I think you're right. Ed. Unless there's...
Oh, here's another thing. A UK tourist that was killed in New Orleans in the terror attack was ID'd as the stepson of Prince William and Harry's nanny.
Jeez.
So...
And that matters?
Well, it's just interesting. And this guy says, I didn't have that on my bingo card, did you? I mean, how do all these important people end up in all these places? That's the question. Right?
I agree.
They're not just regular citizens. They're that's an important person. So anyway, all right. So you guys.
I think that nanny's kid was probably a closet college football fan and just sneaking over to catch a game.
I don't know. All right, how about this? Did you guys hear about the miracle drug that Joe Rogan was talking about that possibly could help people with this would pertain to you, people with addiction. And it's called, I think it's Ibogaine. Let me look it up for you because supposedly they've known about this since the 70s. A psychoactive I don't know how to say that word. INDOLE. Is it indole, alkaloid, obtained either by extraction from plants in the family. Again, another word I'm not going to be able to pronounce, such as tabernanthe iboga. All these lovely things. Let's see. So clinical studies of Ibogaine to treat drug addiction began in the early 90s, but concerns about cardiotoxicity terminated those studies. So instead of pursuing it and finding out more, just stop it. Just stop. Don't help people. Stop. So, they do that all the time.
I have something that fits into what you just said. I was talking to both my sons, and we were talking about drug abusers and taking drugs and this and that. And I told them, I said, hey, I'm for it. I really am. I think, these kids are out there. I said, look, you two are good kids. There's a lot of good kids out there. A good way to limit the field is let these slug butts, these drug dealers, let them overdose.
But here's the thing. This particular drug, I get it that there's some cardiac situations that need to be monitored.
Is it
John
acid?
actually, no, I don't believe it is. No, it is a psychedelic type of thing, but it's not acid. And the thing is, this is supposed to solve this like within 48 hours. 48 hours. As opposed to like 30-day drug treatment. And then you go for another 6 months. And then you got to, I mean, Ed, you can speak to this better than anybody as far as what you go through when you have an addiction. And here's something that potentially could really do something good. And they've just tabled it. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, imagine if you didn't have the yearnings, it's hard. It's
cravings,
hard. The cravings.
if
Thank you.
didn't have
But
that,
Janice,
whether it be food or
Right.
alcohol or other drugs, it would be a tremendous help. However, right, all those things, it goes to me like, hey, you got something wrong, take a drug, it'll fix it. And
But
to me, where it comes down to is just old-fashioned discipline.
And I agree with you. You
Yeah.
know how I feel about this. I definitely agree. But I also know that sometimes you need that edge to get you over the hump.
Well, if you
And
can
if you
get
can
to
get
zero,
that,
right,
Yeah,
if you
but-
can get to
Yeah.
zero, that'd be
yeah,
good.
and that fast, and then then the next step is addressing, fixing that other problem that caused you to get there to begin with.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's the thing that bothers me. And to say that it causes heart problems, well, you're not taking it forever, right? That's not what this drug was supposedly about. It's it's about get rid of it, and move on.
yeah, but how did they narrow that drug down to just eliminating the need for drug?
Well, they were also talking about that it might help MS, Parkinson's. There were a
Right.
number
Well,
of
that's
things.
what I say. What are the natural spin-offs from it? What are the neighbors to it? But maybe one of the neighbors is eating.
I don't know.
See,
But my
so-
point, I guess my point on this is that it's something that, I mean, every drug that they put out there by Pfizer and all these different companies all say the side effect could be death. I can't tell you how many times I got a new prescription for John, and the first side effect was death. And guess what happened to that drug? Psht, it was gone, baby. Because you're telling me the very first possible side effect is death, and the reason we're giving it to him is to save his life?
Well, best I know,
Something's wrong with that picture.
they're still experimenting on people.
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
right?
think that goes under the side effects. I think that goes over to the reaction.
Yeah. Well, my reaction was,
Yeah.
out of here, baby.
The Ozempic and the diet, or I won't use
Yep.
the word, but the weight loss diabetes pill that people are or not pill, but injections that people are using to lose weight. There's been some side effects, including reduced cravings for alcohol, maybe for food and other things. So that those drugs have been dampening those sensors somehow. I thought that fascinating.
I'm really with Ed on this. What happens to self-responsibility here?
I 100% agree with you.
You have to grab a
100%.
hold of it and say, I created the problem. I am going to solve it.
Okay,
Me.
but if you're not, you're already messed up, right? You're in a spin, a downward spin. Something's got to bring you up out of that, and for enough time to be able to address those things. I'm not. Go ahead.
If
Sorry.
you can get so the biggest challenge when someone's using whatever or practicing is their mind's never clear.
Right.
Ever. And so if this would be something that could put a pause and you could get a clear mind, they could make choices and then step in that direction.
Right.
When they're inebriated or affected by whatever, they're not clear thinking.
And even somebody like me that was a smoker, you're clear thinking at that point, but you're addicted.
Yeah.
And if something
smoking doesn't it changes the mind, but you still
right.
think the same.
Right, you do. But my point is that I can't tell you how many times I quit smoking before I actually really quit smoking.
Oh, that's the same way I was.
Right. So that's what I'm getting at, is that if there was something that could help you get over that hump and get you to the point you want to quit, right? And now you have to maintain the discipline to do it. So, and I do understand. I'm for self-discipline. That is like my mantra. But I also understand that, man, when you're in that weak point, it's hard to find that moment.
Yeah,
it's hard to find your way.
But Janice,
it's easier said than done.
You hit the nail right on the head as far as I'm concerned. I think people in this country, when we talk about a cure, we want to put our finger on one thing. This is what's going to do it. That's not life. It's going to be multiple things.
Right.
And one of the things and maybe you went through this because I sure did with quitting smoking. First of all, there's the nicotine addiction.
Right.
They say that's over in about a week to 10 days where you don't have the addiction.
Yeah, but not psychologically.
But then there's the doodaddery to it. There's the carrying the lighter. There's the, fiddling with your fingers. There's the, the intake of it.
Yep.
And, there's just a whole host of other psychological things that are completely independent from the nicotine, the addiction part.
Well, when you get into it, right? So you guys shut those doors. Congratulations on that. You shut those doors, but you were forever changed. Something else popped out. Some other habits, right? When you squeeze a balloon, it still pops through your fingers somewhere.
Yes.
And so you can stop a bad habit, but you create kind of a new one. And
Ed, that's exactly what I heard. They say when you eliminate one habit, you replace it with another.
Yeah, and you need to be good with that. I wasn't, but people need to be. And ultimately, the funniest thing, I've talked with a lot of medical people lately, and I was talking with a GI gal, and we were talking about all the drugs and all the stuff that people take. And she believed that our lifespans are going to continue to decline because of environment and the drugs, not the environment outside, but like buildings, just stuff. But the amount of drugs people take, she doesn't see our lives expanding and longer. She sees it being shortened.
Ed, you hit something there. Let's talk about the environment for a second. Say you work in a multi-story building, and they have done an excellent job of making this multi-story building completely sealed, so we aren't affecting the environment on the outside. But what does that do? That brings all the pollutants on the inside because they can't get out. She might be dead bang right. You know what? Because now there's a whole litany. Let's just take one thing. Polyurethane foam. It's in every single piece of furniture you have or pillow or whatever. That's a toxic that can't get out of the building now, and you're constantly breathing it. So maybe she's on to something.
Hard to say. All right, so I'm going to have some more good news for you. Did you guys hear about the Georgia judge that was found dead by suicide in his courtroom? On the last day that he was on the bench? How about that?
I know.
Another suicide, right? And I did not search suicide, guys. These are just stories that came up here and there and everywhere.
What type of judge was he?
I don't remember. I have the link. I don't remember, but his name was Judge Stephen Yekel. Yekel? Yekel. Yeah, it was very interesting, right? I mean, how do you end up the last day and he had lost his bid for, doing this again, being a judge again. Yeah.
Well, Janice, right along those, which might not be said, I worked with a guy who was
and that was on December 31st, by the way.
A battalion chief. And he wasn't a good battalion chief. and he retired. Matter of fact, when he was a battalion chief, he was very disliked. And
Here's a funny thing. The judge appeared to have shot himself multiple times.
in the back.
And yet they're saying that it is a suicide.
I'm
Yes.
Well,
surprised we
this-
haven't seen these on the air with Trump doing it.
This battalion chief, he retired and went home, and he wasn't retired for more than about 6 months. And his wife says, you know what? His wife of close to 40 years says, I could barely be living with you when you were at work most of the time. Now you're at home all the time. I want a divorce.
Oh my goodness.
Well, so maybe this judge, same
No.
thing. Maybe
This was his last day in
Well,
office.
that's what I mean. Maybe
He was appointed
knew.
a state court judge in 2022 and had more than 45 years of experience. Let's see. So they give his background. He received his law degree from Atlanta Law School, worked as a temporary judge at another court, recorder's office, private practice, handled more than 500 cases. Abided by the philosophy of being the most qualified for the role, citing his experience as a police officer, a prosecutor, and a defense attorney.
Well, here's all of the things that you said elevate him above the masses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when he retired, he would become one of the masses and couldn't handle that.
I don't think so.
Was he a veteran?
It doesn't say. No, it doesn't appear that he was. At least they're not stating that.
So
He
I
also
think you
introduced
just have
an.
to do it. Is it supposedly something of recent concern, or is it someone with a long history of?
Judge Yeckel's ethical standpoint was his commitment to upholding dignity, respect, and impartiality throughout his service. He ensured fair and equal treatment for all individuals, regardless of whether legal counsel represented them. He's also the father of 4. Here's what
Did
they
give
know.
Notes.
Here's what they know. A deputy discovered his body after authorities responded to a report of a possible suicide at the courthouse around 10:20 a.m. on December 31st, 2024. The governor's office also received a note from the judge, but details regarding its contents have not yet been disclosed. Aha! According to reports, Stephen Yeckel lost re-election run, because of which his term ended on December 31st. Reportedly, he tried to resign from his position, but was not permitted to do so by Governor Brian Kemp. So per NBC News, he had initially won the first round of voting in May 2024, but later lost in a runoff. He requested that his resignation be effective on December 30th, a day before the end of his term. So there's something quirky between December 30th and December 31st.
There's
There's
something
some
that we're not being told.
That's right.
Here
Yeah.
in Florida, there was some local news about county attorney general or something. He was in charge of elections, and the state cut his funds off, and he sued them to get his money to do whatever he was going to do in the elections board, and he lost. And they dismissed the case because he got voted out. Someone else came in and they gave them the money.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
no.
But there's state stuff that's happening that's in the annual calendar.
Right. So here's a strange thing about this story. First, it says Georgia State Court Judge Stephen Yeckel passed away on December 31st. Authorities predicted that he died by suicide. They predicted. Does somebody not know how to write? Or is that an odd thing to say?
Especially if he wrote a note.
Well, he wrote a note to the governor.
That's
We
what I'm
don't
saying.
know.
Well,
We don't know what the note said.
yeah, we don't know if
So-
it was a suicide note.
No, you have no
It
idea.
sounds like the deputies may not have known and were just guessing.
Yeah, hard to know. But they predicted. I love that they predicted it.
You know,
did they have their crystal ball out?
Through,
They were
through this,
Nostradamus.
through this all, what he did is he left quite a few victims, his family, and that's terrible.
If he did that,
Yeah.
we don't know that he killed himself. I'm sorry. I just find all these suicides to be a little suspicious.
Well, especially if he
agree
shot
with
himself
My
4
little
times.
antennas go up and I say, hold on. It's easy to say, oh, well, it was a suicide. And then everybody's, oh, sad, sad, sad. Oh, poor family. Oh, but I don't know. I'm
It
not
sounds
buying
to
it.
me like
And
if
it
someone
stops
were
the
to
investigation.
were to
It
take a
stops it.
look at
They stopped the
statistics
investigation?
No,
and
I'm
look
saying
at
it does.
and
Go ahead.
look at the number of like police, right, who commit suicide. Sounds to me like there's way more politicians doing it, and it goes against every thing in their body, right? They're all
Right.
about ego and them. It doesn't make sense to me either.
No, it doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, all right. Well, we have probably about 30 seconds, and then we're going to have to take our first break, our first hour break, and then we'll be back for our second hour. And Ed, you can go make another Keurig coffee over there, and we're going to just take a little walk around and let Doug exercise a little bit. And but
I got
yeah,
a chocolate cabinet here.
yeah.
Oh,
Lenore had a whole bunch of chocolates for you, Ed. So she misses you.
Well, I'll be back.
All right. Well, we hope so. All right. If not, we'll keep you on over here this way.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. So we're going to be right back. We're going to take a short break. We're just going to stay on. You'll see us, but you won't hear us. So how about that? Here we go. Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is What's the Story? This is our second hour, and I am Janice Hermson here with Ed Knoll and Doug Ashby. I don't even think I said that the first hour. I think we just jumped right in and started talking. I don't think I did my normal.
Doug is so popular, everyone knows who he is.
That's right. Well, the author of Heroes and Giants, of course they do. Who wouldn't know that? And you can get an audio book. Oh, that was something else I forgot to show everybody. There's an audio book. If you go to bookgallerynv.com, you'll see the audio book is on there that you can purchase as well. So
And it's a good audio book,
it is,
too.
and I'll tell you, if you want a copy of that, we will give you one if you'll give us a review. We'll trade you.
Sure.
Give us a review and we'll give you an audiobook to listen to. So just go to that janicehermson.com and the contact us, or lrpnv.com and contact us, and we'll get you a book to read.
How much is an audio book?
It depends on which service you have. Like if you're on Audible, you can get it as part of your Audible service. They just need to search Heroes and Giants and Ashby, and they'll find your book and they can listen. Yeah. It's very cool. But like I say, you want it for free? Yeah, give us a review. We'd love to.
Do they have a way to send it to you on a disc, or does it have
I
to be
don't think we're
downloaded?
doing that anymore. I think we're doing all download.
Yeah.
The days of CDs are gone.
Yeah,
My son doesn't even know what a CD is.
yeah.
Oh, I guess I should say we're not on a short break anymore, right?
Yeah.
We're back. I don't have anything that says we're back, but I can create that if we want. Can I tell you? So
Why does it up on my picture up there say that my mic's cut off?
because the feed that I have you coming through is silenced. Otherwise, we'd have feedback because I have another computer that's going for that. So we
they have to.
Yeah,
they
so
have to read my lips.
No, they can hear you because you're coming through this mic. Hopefully not. And look, because we're all three, we each got our own little name tags today. We don't have to share. How about that?
Yeah, I wish I had a better picture. I'm in like I said, a really beautiful area, but what a Florida interesting thing. Condos or homes on the beach, when you replace windows, you have to put turtle glass in. And turtle glass keeps the light pollution in the house, but you can't. So when you're on the beach, you can't see in.
Oh,
Like there's turtle glass behind me.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Right. And so it blocks, you can't really see.
Hmm.
In the daytime, you can see out, but when it's twilight and dark, people can't really see. It's like one-way glass.
Huh. So you don't
It's
have to have drapes.
fascinating, but the beach is dark as can be, and it's likely really awesome for the turtles.
Rush Limbaugh used to complain about that. There was some deal where he couldn't have outside lights on, and a whole big deal.
Yep,
Isn't it-
they have rules on rules on rules on like lighting.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that we're limited in those types of rules where I am. So.
Yeah, we have our own stuff.
Yeah, we have our own stuff, but I guess you learn to deal with whatever is thrown at you, and you either adjust or you move, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of the name of the game: adjust or move.
It is.
I ran into that. I built a house one time, and I had to get a compaction test on the soil, which you have to get a geologist out there, and it can be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 just to see. And I told the inspector that comes out, you want me to get a compaction? He says, yeah, you have to. I said, this is the garden. Why do I need a compaction test?
For the garden.
Yeah, where flowers are going to be. But bless him, he said, you're right. We'll waive it. Yeah.
Oh, how nice!
Yeah,
Well,
that was nice.
Good.
I mean, that was.
That was very good.
But by virtue of
You're
the
in
fact we
trouble
were
now.
discussing it shows you
Yeah.
how.
Gavin Newsom knows now.
That's right. You're in trouble. I do want to mention in our second hour on my Substack, I mentioned that we were going to do a little bit of history. We talked about, kind of 2025 and the future and kind of where we're heading. And I wanted to talk a little bit about history. Anyone who follows me knows that I've been posting every day about the fact that this is our 25th year in business as of October. And we're very proud of the fact that we, number one, survived, because there were so many things that could have just done us in.
With what you're saying right there, if you would have sat down, which we probably did, it probably popped into your mind at 2 a.m, all of the things that could go wrong, all the things that you have to do, if you would list those, you would never take that first step.
Oh, no, never, 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 never. Well, and I had no idea who knew, you had the 2008 debacle, and then you had COVID, and just so many different things. And then the normal things that happen to a business. And I am going to be sharing throughout the year, I'm going to be sharing some of our funny events and ways that we created books that were not traditional, that tell some secrets that we probably wouldn't have wanted to share 20 years ago. But we're going to share them because we think that it'll be fun for people to kind of hear the mistakes you make, right? I mean, we've made plenty of mistakes along the way. And they're all a learning process, and they're all part of being in business and having to laugh at yourself as well as others.
Sure. One of the things that I think about is just about what you're saying. You get over these hurdles. Finally, you get to a spot and you say, you know what, with this business, we're financially comfortable now. There will always be somebody in the wings that wants part of that.
That's right.
Well, wait a minute. I need to. Well, where were you when I was struggling?
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't. You didn't participate at all. Now, when I'm becoming successful, you think you deserve part of what I earn. I don't know if I understand that.
Just part of the way it works, I think, right?
I guess so, yeah. And then, to take it.
It's a great job if you can get it.
Yeah. To take it one step further, what the common word is out there, or common words are out there, is that I think they should pay their fair share. Okay, all right. That's a good slogan.
Yeah.
Can you tell me exactly who it is that's going to determine what my fair share is?
Yeah.
And what gave him the authority to do that? And what gave him the right to think in his mind that he should have the ability to do that?
Yeah. So we're going to, as I said, we're going to share some of that history, and we're going to reveal some things, and hopefully it'll be fun for everybody else. We're hoping to at least put out a few issues of What's the Story. We had What's the Story out there for quite a few years, and then when 2020 hit, unfortunately, we had to discontinue because there just was nobody we were doing a print magazine, and, there was nobody to go pick one up. So it sort of ended, but we're going to revive some of those stories. We're going to do some new ones. Hopefully some of the authors or some of the writers that joined in on that publication will come back with us and maybe share some of their more current stories too.
Ed's getting rid of his pooch here.
Yeah,
you've heard the old slogan, a dog and his master look alike. Put that dog up there again.
Come here, Jim.
If you're on the radio, you're not going to know what's happening here, but Ed's got a dog with him, and the dog has got
here you go.
The cute little dog. I don't know that it really looks like Ed, though. I don't think so. People say that they look like their dogs. That's not your dog.
She looks like my
what really scares me about that is I have an Irish setter, and with that as a philosophy, Irish setters, you can't find a more flighty dog. You can be whacking them with the newspaper and a butterfly will fly by and they want the butterfly.
There you go. So we also mentioned in the Substack that we're going to talk a little bit about food. And I noticed that eggs have been pretty scarce. And I guess egg prices in California were at $9 a dozen. Wow.
What was?
Not eggs. Yeah. They were at $9 a dozen in some areas. So I know that I've heard $7.
Protein.
Yeah, yeah. But for anybody who doesn't know, Ed has a degree in nutrition. And so I said, Ed, you really need to to get out there and do some food talk for us and kind of help us maybe start the year off right with foods. And there was an article on CNN about health food resolutions. So I'm going to let you take it away from here, Ed. I don't know what direction you're going to go with that, but maybe you can share some insight.
Just a second, he has to get through chewing this candy.
No, no, I am aggravated that the medical profession kind of chooses drugs over food, right? And, people get hung up on words and diet. And, I'll just go into like, I'm an alcoholic, right? And I come up and I'm not ashamed. It is who I am. And I'll talk to people and then say, oh, I'm an alcoholic. And they'll go, oh, no, you're not. You're not drinking. You don't look like one. You're not, right? You don't fit the mold. You can't tell people you're an alcoholic.
What does an alcoholic look like?
I haven't drank in 28 years, but I'm an alcoholic. And that name and that means to me that I can't drink ever again. It's a message to me. And that word means to me. And people get caught up in words. And, diet now is a bad word. And it's the same, right? I was mentioning to Jed earlier that when I was a kid in high school and I went through driver's ed, they showed the Smash Up movie, right? The movie with all the crashes and the blood and the gore, because, hey, if you're not a wise driver, you're going to die. It's designed to make you drive well. I know as an alcoholic, if I drink, I'm going to die. People with food they're like me smoking. They ain't dying today, but they need to walk the hospitals and look at what poor nutrition, if they have poor nutrition or they're obese, they're not living long. And
so you're suggesting that maybe they need to have people kind of see the results of their bad eating.
Yeah, have a fat person sit on them.
Well, often we look at, right, I had a coach tell me before, 20% of people are motivated by rewards. If you have a sales contest, right, you're going to have 1 out of 5 guys go for it, or folks. Well, the 80% left are motivated by pain. And if you can cause a pain in their mind, you can, change behavior.
Do you know if anybody's ever done this where they've, like, for people that are obese or just even trying to lose weight, if they've, or they just have bad eating habits? Have you seen any studies or anything like that where they've used this as a technique?
Do you know,
wait,
right?
Let him answer.
I have not. And there's so many studies and so many things, and most of them are like excuses, right? Why this doesn't work or why that doesn't work when, even just, our food's all fortified and stuff. You need some stuff of the earth, but mostly it's portion size. And, I get people with challenges and, it'd be like if you were a gambler and had a challenge in that space, it'd be tough because, right, are you turning at the light in front of that car or not? Right? Are you, when you have a disease that you have to like live in the space, like food, right? You have to eat. You don't have to eat that much and you should eat nutritiously. The best I eat's when I'm poorest. Right? Vegetables, beans, right? All things that are good. Oatmeal, right? Who eats oatmeal? It's been the number one best food to eat for 75 years. I eat it. But I just think people choose, right? We don't educate ourselves in the space, and 75% of the world's obese. Or
Ed,
75% of the U.S. is obese.
Ed, I need to to talk a little bit about what your premise was about seeing terrible things that happened. There was a tire company, and I don't remember exactly who it was. It was one of the major tire companies. They put a TV ad, and what they had was they showed this family, mom, dad driving along, and the 2, 3 kids in the back seat. It starts to rain and this, and they slam on their brakes, they skid off the road. And then they said, hey, such and such tires will prevent this. Well, the message there was if you don't buy their tires, basically, you'll die. People watched that, completely eliminated when it came on. They would not watch it because it was too tragic. They wouldn't do that. I'm afraid what you're talking about, if you make the other side of this so traumatic, people just divorce it and say, that won't happen to me.
Yeah, but people have to wise up and grow up, right? I mean, what they're looking for is that drug Jan's talking about, right? They're waiting for a drug that's going to save their ass.
Let me ask you one question. Do you think in our schools that they teach personal responsibility? Because that's exactly what we're talking about here. If
Well,
you're
I don't,
obese,
and
you
I
have to
and I
take the responsibility. You have to take it, you have to put it on yourself and you say, I don't like where I am. I'm going to do something to change it. That doesn't happen anymore. You look at everything you see on the news, everything you see in TV programs, when there's a problem, it always lies on the doorstep of someone else. They are
well,
not responsible for it.
well, right, but if you want to live long and you want to live a high quality life, those folks are responsible for their lives.
They are, but they don't take the
Society doesn't care
responsible.
about you.
They don't take the responsibility. They say, oh, well, I'll start tomorrow.
Well, then they're going to be a victim of whatever excesses
You're
they got.
absolutely right. You know what they will say? And tell me how many times you hear this. Oh, yeah, I'm obese, but you know what? My mom and my dad are obese, so that's why I am. So that's it. That's the end of the road right there.
Well, but that's up to as a person becomes an adult, they have to overcome that concept, but they have to do that themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's all about that self-discipline. I mean, I could grow up and say, I don't know, my parents taught me X, Y, or Z, and so that's why I am the way I am. Well, yeah, but I have a choice now. I can change that if I choose to.
But who
It's all about
teaches,
choice.
Janice, who teaches that?
It sometimes has to be self-taught. It sometimes has, it's why we read. It's why we do what we do, because sometimes it just takes that to be able to understand how to change.
One of the
You have to
things
want to.
that
You have to have a
we-
desire.
one of the big whoopie doos, certainly growing up in the '60s, was free sex and this and that, and it's your body, you can do with it what you want. Okay, that was great, but did they ever teach? Well, if you get pregnant, how are you going to take care of that child? They don't say that. Well, if I get pregnant, well, then two things. I'm either going to have an abortion or somebody in the government is going to have to help me.
It's
Where is the personal responsibility in that?
But well, there isn't any. But how do you get to them to teach that?
I think
Especially once
that
they're,
belongs in the schools.
well, I don't know. I don't know if it does.
There's a societal thing with food, though. So back in the 1800s, if your wife was fat, you were successful, right? And you get into my grandmother even, right? They just wanted you to eat, right? It was about
That's
getting
true.
It's
enough
true. No, it's
calories.
true.
No, that
Yeah,
was a different time.
it
It was
was.
about getting enough calories to live. It didn't matter the quality, if you will, right?
Well, and the food was different then too, though. It
Right.
wasn't so processed, and all the different ingredients that are in food now wasn't
But it
there.
was about eating because, right, people were not getting enough food.
Right.
And it's changed with our government gives horrible guidance or no guidance in the space when as you turn an adult, I mean, I do yoga 4 times a week. I did do yoga last night, found a cool place
Hey,
here.
congratulations
Do
on
you
that.
Yeah, it's
know,
called
Ed?
Yoga Gallery to you.
Ed, what's just right with what you're talking about? Michelle Obama, during when she was first lady, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but she says, you know what? You're absolutely right. Ed is absolutely right. So she changed all the meals and the requirements for meals in schools. And guess what? I mean, they were
They
all
stopped
healthy.
eating the school.
Pardon?
No, they stopped eating the food at the
That's
schools.
exactly
Well, and
right.
that's a
Yeah.
thing, right? That's a thing. It's like hospitals, right? Nutrition doesn't always mean flavorful, but that's the school's fault, right? Those kitchens need to be, and I'll say where my mom is. I have a menu here. She gets three, seems like every time I'm there, she gets fed. Right? They're feeding her. I mean, that's one of her things. She needs to eat more. Um, but it's tasty food, whether it's a small piece of fish and some rice with diced carrots or peaches or pears and a diet soda,
You know,
right?
Ed, I have to go back to when my dad was in assisted living, and when I'd stop by, maybe after dinner or after lunch or something, his lunch tray would be there. And I was brought up in a family where, mom served the food and dad made sure you ate all of it. So I watched my dad slide his tray when there was, string beans or peas or whatever left. And I said, Dad, you didn't eat your vegetables. I don't like them. I said, oh, baby, payback is really something.
But schools, instead of just checking a box of having healthy food available and like serving green beans and sauerkraut and the messy lunchtime was a time to be with your friends, and if it was hot dog day or whatever, right, you'd eat it, but otherwise you wouldn't. They need to do a better job creating tasty, nutritious food that people want to go eat, right? That you want to eat healthy foods and then you're full for snacks, or snacks don't taste good to you. And
Ed, what
to
is it?
me,
What is it?
it's a place. The government is fattening our kids up. Best I know, nobody's paying for lunch now in schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Well,
so.
Not
what
in
is
Washington
it? What
County.
is it in food that kids require? Sugar, sweets.
Well, they want to like it.
Yes.
But at the same time, you'll find, right? You and I both know people from high school that were small kids that got beat up, that went to the weight room, beefed all up, came back and tried to kick the other guy's butt again. Well, good nutrition does that. But good nutrition makes us our best self. But it's not taught, it's not encouraged, no investment of spending in that area of food science and label reading and what's in your food. Do you know what you're eating? Do you know what you're drinking? What's in that beverage? What chemicals you're consuming or not consuming? People don't care, seems like.
So part of the article that I sent you, one of the suggestions that they made was that you prioritize your most skipped meal. You think that's a good idea?
So I think our bodies have a natural rhythm. I mean, I think breakfast matters. My breakfast most every day is a banana and coffee.
But I think
But
that that's part of the when you say breakfast. So in my head, if you say breakfast, I'm thinking a full meal, right? Not just a banana.
yep,
And
I'm not,
that's what's
so for
different.
me,
But that's
it's a,
what's different. And it can be different because if people would just think about it differently, that breakfast might just be a glass of milk and like you say, a
and a
banana,
cereal
right?
bowl of cereal.
Yeah. Yeah. Or oatmeal.
For what you're talking about for me is brunch now, right? Like a weekend brunch, I'll have eggs and like
Right.
ham and
Right.
toast and
But
things, but
Ed,
that's a day on the weekends when I make it for my son or myself. I'm only having 2 meals on the weekends. I'm having that brunch and I'm having a dinner. Where during the day, like for me, if I'm working, I have that banana, and then I take a couple of like bars with me. I may take a body armor electrolyte drink, and I will
But
eat that and then only have like a dinner as like my one sit down meal where
right.
I've had just kind of healthy snacks all day.
But this is kind of unfair to the population, the younger population that have kids, and you've got to maintain a certain balance of breakfast, lunch, dinner for the kids so that they get the nutrition that they need. As older adults, we can kind of change it up a little bit differently, and
But
we don't
don't,
have the requirement of time. I don't
yeah,
have a
no, you're right, but
school. I
don't,
don't.
how many parents, and I mean, I wasn't exactly one, but many parents put their kids on these strict routines, right? So they sleep.
Right, right.
Food's the same. Why is it different?
Well,
Why do they
Ed,
have that strict routine with food in their restricted, in their routines?
one
And
of the
why do you
things,
teach? Usually, again, it's like eat, 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 right? You're
Right,
small, you're a
right,
baby, eat, 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 and all
right.
of a sudden, boom,
right,
that
right
happens.
along with what you're saying is, bringing up my family and then the grandkids. Whenever you would get in a big group of kids like that, one of the things that I noticed, and maybe you have too, I don't know, is when some of the kids got out of line, what the parents would do is say, here, and they would give them a candy bar, or they would give them some
Oh,
sweet
I
to
didn't get
shut them
that.
up. Pardon?
I didn't get that.
No, they do
Oh,
eat out
man.
though. And I will say, in my life as mortgage person, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I went from, right, you look at somebody's bank statements like I was privy to in my previous job, and you looked at what they like spent their money on, right? It's part of my job to do that at the time. And when I started in 1996, 97, people ate out a couple times a month, three, four times a month, and you could see it. There are people who eat out every meal, two meals a day out every day. They spend mass sums of money on it, and it's just fattening them up for the slaughter mostly. It's ridiculous to me. It's nonsensical. It's, you know what? It's just the same as a smoke or that drink alcohol. It's just comfort.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you had mentioned breakfast, and I like what Janice was saying. When somebody says breakfast in the morning, you think of pancakes, eggs,
Right,
bacon,
right.
all of this, everything that's bad for you,
A
and
formal a
lots of
formal
it.
breakfast is brunch for me in my mind.
Yeah. Well, all my life I've been very, very fortunate because I like fruit. So I eat a lot of it. I love greens too.
Well,
So
like me, I don't like vegetables, man. I really don't. I like corn. I can eat some green beans and maybe some squash. And I know it's good for, I love tomatoes,
yeah,
but Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, and like all
yeah,
that stuff, I
that's
don't
exactly
like.
where I am. I hate
So,
vegetables.
so what do
Well,
I do?
with that being said, isn't it amazing? Like carrots. I love carrots. You cook them. Oh, God, they taste terrible.
Oh,
But
see,
then,
and
And
I
what do
like
they,
cooked carrots better
and
than I
what do
like,
they do with
but
them?
I like cooked carrots better than I
But what do
like
they do
regular.
when they
but
cook
you
a
can have
carrot? They cook
apples.
all the nutrients right out of it.
No,
You can have
no.
apples, you can have fruits, you can have vegetables you like. I mean, that whole, I remember sitting at the table for hours because I didn't want to eat that like wilty spinach that, like, right?
Yes.
I wasn't
Yeah.
Popeye, but my mom made me eat it,
That's the
right?
way
And
I
at the
was.
table, and you're not getting up till you eat that like drop of spinach. And I
But
would
what
sit
did
at
you, Ed? Did you learn to tuck it underneath the corner of the plate?
I always had a dog I could give some
I
to.
did that one time and got beat for it, Doug.
Oh, I
The
hated
other thing
that.
I used to do is hide things underneath my plate,
Yeah,
Yeah, that.
exactly.
and you then my mom would pick up the plate, and there's all my stuff. I made sure I was out of the room
But
fast.
Well, I used to think it.
spinach to
I
me is a
used to
good
think that
example,
was
though.
bad, but as I look at you guys look pretty fit.
Well,
So maybe we ought to go back to forcing it on our kids stuff they
yeah,
don't like. But I think there's whether it's nuts, you can eat stuff of the earth that does, you don't have to like eggplant, you know,
Right.
right? I
Right.
mean, there's ways, there's things that you like or maybe are neutral about that provide the same benefit. All you got to do is open, I mean, they Google for everything else. You won't Google,
Yeah.
right? It's not
Yeah.
rocket science. Just
No,
eat
you're
stuff
right.
you
You're
like,
right.
but
There
it's,
you go.
yeah,
Just don't overdo is really a lot of it
portion
too.
size is huge.
Moderation. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's hard, especially, some of the foods, especially the processed foods, they do have an addictive factor to them.
totally.
So now you're not only, this is no different than what we were talking about earlier about addiction, right? Now you've got people addicted to certain foods, not because they necessarily have to have them, but because there's stuff in this processed food that makes them want it more.
Well, interesting fact, like starches, right? When I grew up, potatoes in Ohio were plentiful. We grew them, they were cheap. We had potatoes every meal,
Right.
Yeah.
mashed,
Right.
scallop, baked, whatever, casserole. And then I went to LA and lived there and ate out, and it's rice,
Right.
right? You got like rice.
You know,
And you look
Ed,
at Italians or Europe and it's pasta.
Yep.
Well, I don't eat any of them now. A little pasta. I may have a baked potato as kind of a main course with a small piece of protein, right, of some sort, in a big baked potato because baked potatoes aren't bad for you. It's the butter and sour
Right.
cream. And actually, I love dairy. I drink a gallon of milk a week and I love butter and real
yeah.
butter. I think these fake things, this tastes like butter but isn't butter and it's triglycerides. How is that better?
Yeah.
It's
Ed, I have a
not better. They
question
told us
for
it
you.
was better, but it's not better.
That's
To
right.
me, you just do portion sizes of the real McCoy.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I had a friend and a very, very close friend in the fire department. And he was known as an eater. His nickname was the Piranha. And if you said anywhere in the Los Angeles County Fire Department about the piranha, you would say, "Oh, you mean John?" He would sit down at a meal with the rest of the guys, eat his portion, and when everybody else was done, he'd said, "Bring it over here," and pile it on his plate, and he would continue to eat. Every meal was that way. He ate 3 or 4 times what other people ate. Skinny as a rail.
High
Yeah. High
metabolism.
metabolism. Yeah.
People have it, right? You got to know you.
That's right. It's true. Well,
Well, but wait a minute. Aside to that is 2 or 3 days from now. I don't remember exactly what it is. I'm going to go to his funeral. So,
I was going to say,
bummer.
but he was 83. So
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's
I
good.
know quite a few women, right, over the years that eat way more than me and are way smaller, but their metabolisms are really fast. And
boy,
it's
I
just
guess.
knowing who you are. And,
Yeah.
you do it with healthy foods. You don't, I eat chocolate and throw it on, but you got to have a base of good stuff.
Well, when my wife and I, when Debbie and I go out to eat, we always split a dinner, and that works.
Certainly
Oh,
for
We
folks
never
who
we
eat
never
it.
go away hungry.
yeah.
Well,
Now,
I
how
Well,
eat
about
way
how
less.
about eating red meat? Red meat good
And I
for
eat
you?
way less red meat than I used to. I mean, I eat more fish. I eat sushi. So sushi is something you can buy at the grocery store now for 10, 12 bucks for a meal. I often do that when I go to whether it be Winco or Smith's, and that can be lunch or that can be dinner for me. Just one of those tubes, not all you can eat. And because it's a waste of money for me. I mean, I'm not Joey Chitwood or like you're,
You know what's interesting with what you just said? When we go to dinner and go out, I'll look at the menu, and I will see fish on there as opposed to meat. It's not that I don't like fish. When I order fish, I really enjoy it. But that's not my habit. I sin for whatever reason. I migrate to the red meats and I don't eat fish.
Well, and I got to the red meats. The portion sizes are so huge. I can get a T-bone and make like have three dinners from it. I mean,
Yeah,
I always buy a petite because
yeah.
basically all I can eat, if I can eat that, it's for me. I could eat like your friend, and my brother does, right? He's giant, but you do so at your own detriment. Keep that stomach small. It'll stretch, but keep it
Well,
small.
and
All right, let me switch gears on us because we're gonna run out of time for the different things we're talking
Okay.
about. This has been
All right.
interesting, but I wanna jump to the beneficial. Oh shoot, I don't have the right page. Hold on a second. It is called it's a BOI report, and I talked about it the last time that we were on air, which was a couple of weeks before. Beneficial Ownership Information Report, which is for business owners. And the last time I reported on this, I said, "Oh, don't miss out. You gotta file this if you're an LLC or an S corp or
remember that.
any of these. You gotta file it by December 31st, or you're gonna have a $500+ fine per day." So make sure you do it. Well, right toward on December 28th, the United States Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reimposed the injunction imposed by a U.S. District Court. And as a result, January 13th, 2025 is no longer the new deadline because they moved it from the 31st to January 13th. So it's no longer the new deadline for your BOI report. For most of the business entities. So this keeps changing. The people who are challenging this are saying it's unconstitutional. This is all about fraud, all about,
Best I
laundering
know, it's all
money.
about tax dollars.
Well, and it's about laundering money. They're saying that, we, the business owners, we're so rich, we're laundering money. We're not
So
just
let me.
striving to survive.
Janice, what you
I
have to
have
do
immediate
whenever somebody steps forward and says, "We're doing this for you," run like hell.
Well, I have direct input. My aunt, um, who is an entrepreneur and been successful and sold a business, and she, so back in 2008 when we were all suffering, she was picking up condos for 60 grand a piece
Right,
and
right,
picked up about
exactly.
20 of them. And right, she sold them all now, but one. And right, man, is she a smart gal? However, she had LLCs by state, by right. She had a Florida
Right,
where she was the only kind of a sole proprietor, but set up as an LLC to keep it
exactly.
separate for
Yep,
Florida law
yep.
and Ohio law because she owned them in Ohio too. And she was worried about that
I'll
because
bet.
it's about intermingling of funds, it's about
Right.
things, and she's very disciplined and doesn't do it. But she has one property left because she bought it with a tenant like 15 years ago, and he's still there, and she doesn't want to kick him out. So she's going to own that till that person passes or moves out or whatever. But she goes, that LLC is there, but it's
Right.
not like, right? It's not like, and I may not be as disciplined with that because it's all I got. And if he needs a filter, if he needs something, I just get it.
Right.
And so she's worried about violating that new boy stuff.
Yep.
And so it's
Well, you
not
can tell her that the
corporations and rich
moment,
folks.
yeah,
It's a lot of
it
individual
is.
entrepreneurs and many, many people. And it's, to me, it's just greed. I think they're
Yep.
just trying to steal.
Yeah, probably. But at this point, as of this moment, 4 days ago, you do not have to file by January 13th either. But be
Awesome.
sure you jump on and check this periodically because it just keeps changing. I would guess though if they've waylaid the January 13th, it's gonna, they'll go a couple weeks out before it'll be. So you got a little bit of time to check, but don't ignore this because it could be very costly if they re-implement it and tell you have to file and then you don't.
So how many businesses you think go under? What percent of right? What percent of
I don't know.
there's going to a certain percent that'll bite it.
Yeah, I know. And there are people who've already filed because they wanted to get ahead of the game, and that's great. But I just didn't think that I wanted to file for this, and so I'm glad I didn't.
Well, I think they'll find.
Sorry.
I mean, there's bad actors and everything, but they need
There are, but you know what?
what?
They've got enough reporting coming from all of us. They know who we are. They know who owns our business.
I totally agree, but our society, whether we talk about, school shootings or whatever, it's not the teacher's fault for being untrained. It's not the first responders' fault for being untrained. It's that individual's fault. Just like crooks in any business, it's their fault. It's not the legal folks' fault. So quit punishing them.
Yeah. All right, you guys, we got about maybe 10 minutes. So you got any books? Did you bring a book?
Oh, I
do.
did.
Okay,
did.
let's have Ed go first.
Well, before we get to that, I
Dad
picked
will
out.
never let me leave.
No,
He will never let me leave.
I did. I found an interesting thing on the internet this morning when I was preparing.
Oh.
And it really affects all of us. And what happened, somebody sent it to me, and I looked at the date, and it was from 21. I thought, well, that's too out of date. So I went to see if I could update it. And this is updated. This was March 1st of 24. And it's how can you avoid card skimmers?
Oh, good one.
Have you guys heard about that?
Yep.
That's, and I don't, basically, I don't know that much, and I didn't know anything until I read this article. But when you're shopping, and the article that was sent to me was somebody saw a scammer in Costco, and he was walking around, and evidently they have a device. They can go by your purse or by your wallet, and it downloads all of your information into this machine that they have. So they have it. So, like I say, I can do that in less than a minute. Everybody should, use the word, get on the internet, scammer, and you'll find everything that you need to know. But it's important because it could affect your financial health.
College kids are unusually susceptible, and my son we have a shared card, and somebody keeps trying to build $29.99 right to it all the time, but they know it's an illicit transaction, and it's a faux number, right? It's a credit card number that's not real, and they just continually deny it, but the scammers keep trying to send it through.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just, everybody does that. How much money do you think they get before people notice?
Probably a lot.
Obviously
Probably a
enough
lot.
to keep doing
A
it.
lot. Well, my
Yeah.
book is in conjunction with our word of the day. It's called Feisty, a Memoir in Little Pieces.
No.
And it's written about some feisty women and their struggles. The author is Jean Peelen, Peelen, and it was written about 2008, I think. I was going to check. I'm on StreamYard here, so I can't, I don't think I can go look. But
That's okay. I've got it here. I'm going to pull it up.
But looked like a really fascinating read, an uplifting story about people's spirit. And most of the books surrounding Feisty are about women, and there's quite a few of them. But yeah, it's awesome. We could all
see her there?
More positive energy.
I think that's awesome.
So there you go. There's Miss Feisty herself, right?
Yeah, she's written a couple of books, but this one stuck out for me. And yeah, I just think it seems people
83 years old.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
And she published that in 2023, Ed.
Yeah. Oh.
One of the things that Janice and I certainly have talked about, and we've talked about it on this program before, is that if you're publishing a book, I think titles And
mean a lot.
and the book cover.
Can I say one thing about what she says? It does no one any good to retire their bodies, spirits, or minds from creative activities. Retirement, when one goes from work to only leisure, is a distinctly American unhealthy habit. I have retired 3 or 4 times, but never for real. Live your life fully for all of your years. Boy, do
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Oh, amen.
Well,
5,000%.
I
Yeah.
was smitten by this.
Good choice. I'll have to read that book.
Yeah, no.
She's inspirational.
Yeah.
Here's another one that you should read too.
Oh,
And,
Debbie already
this-
gave me one. I have to read the one she gave me first. Or Doug's wife gave me a book on it. She said I should read, so
Yes.
I got to read that.
This it is what caught my mind, and it does fit in, I think, to really what we've been talking about for the last couple hours. But as far as a book title and a picture of it, boy, this I think is lacking. The title of the book is The Ultimate New Year's Revolution Guide, a manifestation guide to success and eternal happiness, a manifestation planner and guide for journal of a goal, boards and achieving success in the new year. Wow.
Is it a resolution guide or a revolution?
Resolution.
Resolution
Yes.
guide?
Yes. And it's and of course it has to be current. This is November 24th of 24. It says unlock the best year yet with the ultimate guide for the New Year's resolution guide. It says are you ready to turn your dreams into reality and make this year the most successful and fulfilling one? The ultimate New Year's resolution guide is your all-in-one planner, journal, and guide to achieving our biggest goals while embracing positive and personal growth. That's pretty good.
Wow.
So is it a blank
So-
notebook?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
Could you find it on there, Janice?
Is it for 2024, November 24th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay, let me share this and then I can show you.
The author is David Mongarian and Alfred Mongarian II.
Here
I
it
guess
is.
probably his son.
Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Ultimate New
You're
Year's
on.
Yeah,
resolution.
there you go, right there.
Okay. Yep. So there you go.
See, this
Yeah.
is the guy that causes
120 pages. Reading age 6 to 18 years old. Well, that's pretty good. He's not selling a bunch, but it's hard to get these things out there.
Yeah.
You say.
Well,
And-
right there. If that was on a bookshelf, would that pop out?
No.
Especially with a title like that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting though, but you found it. So if you found
Yeah.
it, other people will find
Yeah,
it, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So there you go. The ultimate New Year's resolution guide, manifestation guide to success and internal happiness, manifestation planner, guide to go, blah, 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 and on and on and on. And they do this every year, it appears. So they must be selling some because they keep.
One of
they
the
keep
things that
doing
I
it.
did notice there is only
One can only hope.
120 pages
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, you New Year's resolutions don't last long. I was going to ask you guys if you had any resolutions this year. I don't have any resolutions. I'm just doing. That's what if there's a resolution I've got, it's that I'm doing.
Well,
Yeah, that's
my
true.
resolution's mental. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well,
doing
this goes this goes back to is one of the things that I used to teach when I was teaching leadership. If you have all these ideas, like a resolution that you want to do, unless you put a date on it, a time limit, it remains a dream. You have to put,
okay.
you
That's
have
good.
To put a
See you,
time
Marvin.
limit on it.
Thanks.
Yeah,
You have
thanks,
to
Marvin.
Say, I am going to lose 15 pounds by February 1st or whatever, because then you can monitor. If you just say, I'm going to lose 15 pounds, that'll go on forever. And it becomes just nothing but a dream.
Right.
So,
I had
Oh,
a
yeah.
lifelong dream of being under 200 pounds every minute of the day, and it came true.
Yeah, it took a while, but it works.
It took a while, but you know what? If it's an ultimate goal and you have the discipline and want it, you can get there. And
You can.
now I don't really have to watch it as much.
That's good.
I just had a thought when Ed and I what Ed and I should do is, because I haven't had a drop to drink either in over 25 years. So Ed and I are cut from the same cloth. But I thought what would be nice if Ed and I went out and had a drink together.
Go bar hopping. So my uncle,
Yeah,
my uncle,
like in the next lifetime, okay? Not this lifetime,
yeah,
next
my
lifetime.
uncle's coming to town Thursday, and right when I go to yoga, it's right in a cliquey little part of Melbourne. He can go have his beer and catch a basketball game while I'm at yoga, and we'll meet back at the car and come home after I'm done with
There you
yoga,
go.
and he's having
There you
beer.
go. Good job. Good job. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. This was our first show of 2025, and there will be many more. And watch for new shows coming from the LaRue Press Network. We're going to have an accountability show, a legislative 2025 show, and many more. So keep your eyes open and watch for our history. We'll be talking about it all year long. So
And thank you so
thank
much
you.
for including me from a distance.
We're happy to have you. Glad you could be on. I was worried you wouldn't be able to do it. So,
Oh,
yay.
this is great.
All right. So we'll see you next time.
All right.
All
All right,
guys,
everybody. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year, everyone.